Welcome to Go Home Heat, a sports entertainment podcast. This will be a Raw Smackdown podcast in which we discuss the weekly events. Starting with Raw, Drew McIntyre he comes out, he gives a speech, he has defeated his biggest foe. He did it by pushing forward. Randy doesn't know what it's like to not know where his next paycheck is coming from. Randy's always been protected and coddled. Drew is willing to give Randy another shot at this thing if he would like, and Drew is getting his party on until, of course, he parties not thinking that a viper may strike, which he does.
Which I'm going to put again, that's on Drew.
Absolutely. Like the guy who puts his, like you ever see the guys that stick their hands down into the thing to get something out of the cobra?
I thought you were talking about noodling. Well, they fish by putting their hands in those holes under the...
That too.
Yeah. No.
If something bad happens, you don't stick your hand in places you can't see.
No.
All right, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. Multiple punt kicks to the head.
But he gets up from 2 punt kicks. You know why he gets up from 2 punt kicks? Because Shawn Michaels got up from a punt kick last week, so they had to establish that the champ ate up 1 RKO and stayed down. Shawn Michaels ate an RKO and a punt kick and got up. So the champ now has to eat 2 punt kicks
and get up
and attack him later.
Right. All of this because Shawn wouldn't sell.
Yes. Shawn Michaels.
Love him. Okay. Nia Jax is back because she has apologized. Shayna and Nia give each other the business backstage. This is going to be a running theme through the week here. I do like the way they interact with each other to some degree.
Yeah.
There is a dislike, but also an acknowledgement that maybe, in Shayna's case, you're the only one really big enough to give me a problem.
Yeah.
Because nobody else here can fight me because we're all the same size and I'm a better fighter.
Yeah.
But
you at least outweigh me enough that it would make it difficult for me.
Right. If you landed, I'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
You wouldn't land. But if you did.
Yeah.
And Nia knows
if you know how to punch.
And Nia kind of deep down knows the same, that she probably couldn't win, but
she has a slight chance. She's a better chance than Sasha Banks.
Given that she could cheat, you never know.
Yeah.
Okay. Bayley's wrestling on Raw tonight. Shayna, she winds up in a match with Shayna Baszler, and Shayna gets kept out of the ring by Nia, who had walked down to observe, holds her out for a 10 count, which I'm not 100% sure the ref should have allowed. Then there was a brawl between Nia and Shayna, which continues up until the point that they realize Sasha and Bayley are laughing at them, in which gets their attention turned towards them, which could lead to a tag team monster coupling with Baszler and Nia. We'll see how that goes as the week progresses. KO and Aleister Black are going to do a thing, and we finally they wind up on the show. Aleister's wearing an eye patch thing, and he's
too cool for an eye patch, sir.
He is too cool for an eye patch, and then so it was like a
bandage almost across his head.
Right, but then he winds up kind of suckering KO into allowing him to turn heel.
Yeah,
which he does, and he
hits him with the back elbow first, and then with the low black mass. Right.
And I'm excited about him going. This was nice, quick segment in which we get the wrongs righted of Aleister for whatever reason, helping people for
no reason.
Right. We righted all those wrongs nice and quickly right here.
Yeah.
And we're back on track with this. Banks and Sasha talk about how they're going to be taking care of business soon. However, there is an Asuka, a Nia, and a Baszler in the mix, so good luck with that.
Yeah.
Now we have a tremendous collection of talent here. R-Truth, Akira Tozawa, Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander are involved in a gaggle of ninjas.
Yeah,
I guess, and so a bunch of stuff happens right here. I don't know that it's worthy of discussion. It is worthy to note how incredible all these performers are to be involved in a 24/7
Yes.
title. I think Akira winds up coming out of this with the belt.
That sounds like something that happened.
Yes. Orton will speak, and he walks to the ring slowly, methodically. I promised I'd kill the legends, Christian and Edge, and he names off others. I promised I'd kick Drew in the head, which he did. I'm a man of my word. I am the legend killer. Boom! Keith Lee's music. Oh, man.
No, it's not.
It wasn't. Keith Lee's outfit. It wasn't. Keith Lee was there, though.
He looked like he looked like an emo Japanese schoolgirl.
Correct. Which was not the look I thought we'd go for.
I did not think so. He looked like he should be a character in a Street Fighter games outfit.
I neglected to tell you that this is Justin and Ray here with KP earlier. I apologize. Now let's get back to going on. Yeah, this was crazy because...
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right, and part of the point of NXT being a legitimate third brand is maybe you don't have to totally rebrand him when they go to a different show because it's supposed to be a lateral movement.
I'll quote Charles Barkley. Terrible. Just terrible.
Yes, putting Keith Lee in a miniskirt was interesting booking, even if that's not what you call booking. Okay.
Yeah.
He says he's limitless.
Well, have you noticed that there is an I don't know who is the outfit designer, but we got shorts and leggings a lot now.
We get some arm tights on him.
Angelo Dawkins, Shorty G had that for a little bit, and he still got the weird shorts.
Mm-hmm.
Like basketball kind of shorts are a thing now that they're doing, and have I seen fighters wear shorts like that and look kind of cool? Yeah, but you gotta, like Matt Riddle could. You know, because he'd wear no knee pads and no shoes, and you look like a fighter.
Well, and two, why? I assume the reason he's wearing a shirt is because of his physique.
His physique looks like the Hulk. I don't know what their problem is.
I'm just guessing. Okay, that would be why. So if this is an issue for you with Keith Lee, why is Odie out there in a sports bra?
Thank you.
Right?
Stupid. It's stupid.
and you're totally right. He does look like the Hulk when he's out there, right? Okay. So we basically wind up with him challenging Keith Lee challenging Randy to a fight after what he had done. We find out later that Keith and Drew are friends.
Nobody knew about that.
Yes.
It's like nobody knew that Rey Mysterio was Aleister Black's idol. Even though that I know for a fact that he never saw WWE product for most of his early career.
Or that Shawn was buddies with Drew last week.
Oh, yeah.
Never knew that.
Never knew it. They just write this stuff in seconds. And it's just like, dude, establish something.
Charlie asks Zelina questions about Garza, and the famous girl are there as well. Will Zelina admit her guilt? No, but Garza does for her.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting considering they're supposed to be friends.
Yeah.
And then the famous girl gets invited to the ring by
Ivar,
yes.
Well, Garza invites her to the ring, and he comes out to ask her if she needs an escort or something.
Right, and so we get and
he gives her turkey.
Yes, of course. She's with, okay. Anyway,
they think it's funny for dudes to give hot chicks meat.
Well, I think at least in this instance,
I said that on purpose.
At least in this instance, he's been using turkey legs throughout his.
Odie was using hams.
Yes, correct.
It's just weird the things that they repeat.
That they think it's right. Okay, yeah.
And we had that segment. We'll get to SmackDown. It wasn't. But it was another meat-oriented segment.
Right.
They have lots of meat-oriented segments.
It's strange.
It's odd.
Yes. Montez Ford versus Garza. Ivar comes out with the turkey leg and the famous girl, as we earlier said. This is, again, you have a ton of talent in there, and this doesn't wind up really being much of a match other than Ford hitting his frog splash on the Garza being distracted. And I don't...
It's weird, Kevin, that are you telling me a tag team involved kind of match didn't get a lot of playtime.
You had these great athletes a minute or two earlier, or 2 segments earlier in a 24/7 match, which is still fine if you give me a good match.
No, why have you got to give me a crappy match?
And it winds up being a ninja spot. And then here you have 2 of the better wrestlers you want to become something.
Yeah.
And and this is basically a turkey leg spot.
Well, and it's because, Kevin, you got to understand, what I need in my wrestling show is a lot more talking and cooked meats. Wrestling is not what I came here for.
I guess. I'm okay. Nia is willing to wrestle with Baszler if Baszler will follow her lead. I thought Baszler agreeing. Okay, I'll help you with that if you get off my back, which I thought was bad for Baszler, until which Baszler slapped her in the mouth, and then I realized Baszler was not succumbing to Nia in any way, shape, or form, which again, now I'm back on board all of a sudden. Liz, Ruby Riott, Bianca versus the Iconics, and Zelina. And we get a quick but good little matchup there. Bianca gets to beat up Zelina and uses Beth's finisher in this match.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember, she used Mark Henry's finisher outside the ring a week ago, and she's just amazing.
Yeah.
And again, I like the fact that they're utilizing Zelina as a wrestler.
Yes, I do.
Because she's a little bit better than
a lot of the talent they've got in the ring.
She's better than Billy for sure, even though Billy's bigger.
Yeah.
And she's maybe not better than Peyton, but completely different.
Yeah.
She's got that luchador style of thing. I like her wrestling. Mark Henry, the national treasure, is going to set up an arm wrestling thing here.
That's also what I want more in my wrestling show.
Ricochet and
arm wrestling. Different kinds of wrestling.
This was the best
Leg
part.
wrestling next week, maybe?
This was the best part of the arm wrestling thing, though, is the pre-stuff. Because what it sets up is MVP.
Yes.
Rolling in on... Because Rick and Alexander are like going to wrestle each other, and Alexander just lost his belt. And so MVP wants to know why on earth they're playing patty cake backstage when he just lost his title. And he said, I'm going to go attend to my U.S. title business, and you go ahead and attend to catering. And I love the fact that it keeps...
They keep calling the catering out.
And just keeps calling Cedric out for playing around when he's got all the talent in the world and should be doing more with it.
Oh, I agree with that.
Yeah. Lashley versus Apollo in an arm wrestling match is what we get to next, though. And this was not as good. I haven't, we've had a couple of these segments over the years, and this one just didn't ring good. Now, what winds up happening is Lashley tries to cheat by putting his foot directly underneath the podium, which I don't know how many people in the world would even know that that's a thing. Like,
everybody that's seen Over the Top, Kevin.
I was going to reference that unless you've seen Over the Top, which I would think that
90 to 98% of the population has seen Over the Top, Kevin.
I would think the main way to see Over the Top is just to go to film school.
Yes. I think every film student has to watch Over the Top.
Right.
And Roadhouse.
Because they pause it, and as Stallone is turning his hat around backwards, they say, now this is how you underline a moment.
Yes.
That's a moment. When he turns his hat around, it's on.
It's on.
Yes. I went to high school with a guy that would say that, like, I'm not going to fight somebody unless I turn my... Dude, it was so blatantly ripping off Over the Top.
Over the Top.
And it's like, dude, that movie's... I'm a still on mark, bro.
Movie's terrible.
And you referencing that in the hallway before you punch this other kid it's not doing it for me.
No. You're not getting over with that.
Right. Reference Dusty Rhodes.
Somebody. Well, and my thing is, too, that seems
like... The Koloff.
I'd wait... when he reaches up there to turn his hat around is when I'd punch him in the face.
Or just hold his hat, because evidently if the hat doesn't get turned around backwards, nothing can happen.
You can't fight me now, buddy.
You've frozen his powers.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yes. Okay. So then when he does put his foot in there, Apollo steps on his foot, beats him in the arm wrestling match.
Explain to me why Bobby Lashley has to cheat in arm wrestling against
anybody.
Anybody?
Right.
There's like maybe a handful of people on the planet
And then why does Apollo grab his belt and just run? And then again, why does MVP try to tackle him just like he did last week and miss? How bad a tackler is MVP?
Apparently he never played football.
See, I kind of think he probably did at some
Oh,
point.
man.
I would guess Sheldon did too. I would guess Bobby did too.
Uh-huh.
And none of them seem to be able to tackle.
No.
At all.
Explains why they didn't make the NFL.
Yes, that's the real that's the real story here. And it's a waste of one of my favorite people, Mark Henry.
Yeah, dude.
Because I was so glad to have him back, and then they put him in this mess.
Oh, I would love Mark to be a manager.
It's anything.
Anything. Commentary.
Any excuse to get him on TV except for arm wrestling judge. Although he did kind of get a kick out of it and laugh.
Oh, yeah.
But he may not have known the rules either. Now, we get another backstage segment as Charlie interviews Rey Mysterio and Dom and Rey's wife, Angie.
He's like a foot taller than Rey.
Yes. His Dom is physically built more like his mother than his father.
Yes.
But seems to be coordinated like that. Although Angie may be coordinated too. Who knows?
Who knows?
Rey is proud of Dom. Dom was scared last night, but he went out there and got it done anyway. Rey's laying it on pretty thick here. He says Seth will have to pay for his crimes. And Rey's about almost...
Seth ain't paid for nothing yet.
Almost crying with pride. He's laying it on so thick here. So I know we're getting a heel turn. I'm so down for the heel turn. And then we get... we go back to the ring. Natalya and Lana are going to celebrate Mickie James's retirement. And they're actually wearing kind of callback outfits to Trish Stratus in an incident she had with Mickie James during her career, which I didn't know. Somebody put the two outfits side by side with one that Trish had worn.
Yeah.
They get interrupted by the honoree, Mickie James, who comes out and promptly chick kicks Lana upside the head.
Of course.
Which is great. And I'm all for this being a feud if I get to watch them actually wrestle some.
At some point, yes.
Okay, now Bobby's pissed, and he wants into the underground to get out his frustrations, and maybe the point of that last segment was for Bobby to go to the underground and wreck things, which he does. And it's really good when he gets in there.
Him and Dolph, man.
Dude, that's exactly right. He chokes some random dude out, and then he gets in there with Dolph Ziggler, who is like we've said before, is a legitimate amateur wrestler, and they get after it. And Dolph gets a single leg takedown. It's really good. He winds up getting the sleeper, but Bobby flips him off and throws him against the back wall, which I thought was wonderful.
Yeah.
Then he kicks some random guy, and he starts looking for more fights.
Yeah.
And then we cut away because we're going to get a match that nobody thought was even possible, and the WWE is just going to randomly give you a banger right here. Randy Orton versus Keith Lee.
Yeah.
One up-and-comer, former NXT champion, versus maybe the biggest star you've had in years.
There's no way they could screw this up, Kevin.
No, sir. So
then
we get what we need because Shawn was unable to put over Randy. So we get Keith out there to put him over.
Yeah, because Randy needs that.
Right.
I don't buy him.
Correct. And so then... to me, it felt like Randy was doing well with Keith, and you didn't really get to see a whole lot of what Keith can do. And then Drew McIntyre comes running out and attacks and messes up the match.
There were some strength spots at the beginning where you got to see, like, oh, Keith is super strong, but that's not all of Keith Lee's character.
Right. But then, of course, Drew winds up succumbing to the Viper again and getting kicked in the skull for a third time.
Yep, we got to put Randy over.
Right. And so...
it took three... I repeat to you, Shawn Michaels got Drew McIntyre kicked in the head 3 times.
Right. Correct. Absolutely right. Now, we could just skip over... We'll get back to this next thing, but this eventually turns into... I was so mad when this was over. This eventually turns into Drew getting into an ambulance and being taken away, and Keith Lee standing there outside and getting interviewed and letting us know of his friendship, and that he originally had thought, I don't need Drew to fight my battles for me. But now my friend is being taken away, and Randy Orton, if you want some, you're going to get it. And so this makes it looks like we're getting a Keith Lee, Randy Orton promo.
I wish Keith had been like, my good friend Drew McIntyre, who I'm worried that with that many head kicks might not remember when he wakes up what good friends that we are and how important he is to me. And that's why I've got to fight Randy Orton.
Yes. I'm terrified of this because Randy, as we know, has a long, illustrious career of burying up-and-coming talent.
I mean, if you want, everybody disses Cena, man, but Randy's got the golden shovel as well.
It will be interesting because Randy is in a different stage of his career, and he has been anointed back to the top of what we do. He's not just kind of doing his own thing separate from the rest of the programs.
Mm-hmm.
Will he take this opportunity to put the shine where it needs to be, which is Keith Lee?
Yeah.
Because right now the WWE could use an uber babyface again.
A charismatic uber babyface who can actually put a mic in front of and have him talk.
Right. Well, think about it. Seth was their uber babyface.
Seth can't talk as good as Keith Lee.
But
now as a villain he can, but as a babyface, he was new.
Right, but he's not anymore.
Yeah.
Right? And, Roman, we'll get to that later, but Roman attacks and doesn't look babyfacious in the last thing. Braun just went.
He looked too delicious.
Braun just went from face to heel. So there is room for somebody to join Drew as that uber babyface in his company.
Matt Riddle, but he's in a feud with Baron Corbin,
and he's not up there.
Not yet.
Up there filling in the top of the card yet.
No.
You know what I mean? There's room to do that. Okay. Now we get Asuka versus Sasha in a lumberjack match, and we have just seen a month of Asuka and Sasha killing it.
Yes.
And so they decided to not give us a match here.
Not really.
This was not a match. I mean, Bayley tried to get Sasha a chair. Sasha stops her. Shayna stops her.
Well,
Asuka
and there was a couple
with the 1-2
lumberjack spots outside where they just attacked Asuka, and Bayley just attacked Asuka, and none of the lumberjacks did nothing. There's like 30 of them, and nobody did crap. Hardly.
Correct. The spots you deserve with the lumberjack match, the reason why you're watching it didn't occur, other than to have an excuse for Shayna to stop Bayley from helping.
Yeah, that was it. They didn't do the whole, as soon as the person leaves the ring, they just wolf pack them, throw them back in the ring. It was not. I didn't understand it. It was, why'd you even call that a lumberjack match? It's the people standing around the ring match.
Right. So then we wind up with the ambulance spot we talked about earlier. Lashley winds up beating up Alexander in the.
Yeah, poor Cedric.
In the emergency, in
the
underground place, and MVP pulls him off. Eric and Ibar jump in, and they get beat up by the Hurt Business. And then we get our main event of the evening. Dom, Ray versus Seth and Murph. We get a great match. Seth and Buddy are killing themselves trying to sell for Dom and make him look good. Just when you think a surprise, exciting finish may happen, Retribution attacks. Seth clears out, and I thought this was interesting. Seth clears out of the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Pulls Murphy follows, and they don't run.
Mm-mm.
They just go to the top and watch the beatdown. And they do cut to Seth saying, "We're good here," as if Seth knows for whatever reason they won't attack him. Again, we're teasing who all's involved in this.
Yeah. How many finishes did we get in this episode that were even remotely clean?
Almost none. And one thing I think we're doing right now.
How many endings did we get last week?
Well, I think here's the point. I think of what you're getting to, and I'll try to explain what I think they're trying to do. And not that I agree. Last week, not a lot of finishes because you're going into a pay-per-view. That's where the clean finishes are going to be. This week, not a lot of finishes. You're going into a pay-per-view. That's where the clean finishes are going to be. Also, they're utilizing with Retribution, they tease you things you want to see, and then Retribution comes in and ruins it for you. And that's how you're a heel. Remember last week when Mickie James and Natty are fighting, and you can't wait to watch that match. They've told you Mickie James is there, and they send their heel out there to talk through the match.
But I'm not mad at Seth Rollins because I know that wasn't Seth Rollins' idea. I'm mad at Vince McMahon for writing that crap. That's the difference.
Do you think that maybe sometimes the guy in that room that makes those decisions doesn't realize that to some degree the wrestler isn't getting blamed?
I don't think he does. I think he's,
well, I do
hate Seth for this. It's like, no, dude, I don't hate Seth. Seth followed somebody's order to walk down, just like Michael Cole and every other announcer follows somebody's order to talk about other stuff besides the match in the ring. For 90% of the match. I don't have any problem with them. I have a problem with the person sitting back there writing this. Right.
But now I did see online when Mickie James was approaching the ring, somebody was like, so Seth gonna come ruin this too? And then there was something else, and I thought, so maybe it does work for people other than us, but I don't think it does. I don't think
anybody buys it that Seth Rollins just
decided he's going to go out there and ruin a women's match.
No.
Or that Retribution is, I mean, we know this is how we're going to get them over. They're ruining things we like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But they're not doing it. Because I don't even know if the people in the ring are the people in that actual faction.
Right. Correct. Because we don't know who's in the faction yet. Right. So this was a head scratcher. I didn't hate it. It was a head scratcher of an episode.
It gave me some just bafflement at moments.
And they teased me with Keith Lee and Orton, and I guess they're going to give it to me down.
This whole the only place we're getting finishes? Underground.
Yeah.
We get finishes in Underground a lot of the time.
Right. And they are teasing you. They used this episode to tease you with what's to come, which I guess is the purpose of a post pay-per-view thing, and then having another one right on the heels of it. But it felt like there could have been more to it. You know what I mean? But,
well, you don't have to. I don't think you have to screw a match up to get people over or to advance plot lines. I mean, or even to keep both people looking strong.
Right.
You can have interference that causes the babyface to lose and it still looks strong.
Or you could have an episode like SmackDown.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get into that because that was way cooler.
Yeah.
Adam Pearce goes into Vince's office and he is told by the mighty Vincent Kennedy McMahon that he must have the Fiend, Braun, and Roman sign their autographs on the dotted line for a no-holds-barred championship match Sunday. Adam looks like he realizes this is a daunting task, which it is, I'm sure. Jeff Hardy approaches the ring, mic in hand, ready to give us the business. But AJ interrupts and says, "You cheated with that knee brace. It was illegal. I hope he's never seen Stone Cold wrestle."
No. Soul's whole career is illegitimate.
Correct. Jeff is playing the system, to which Jeff replied, "I was about to enter an open challenge to anybody but you."
Oh.
AJ comes down on commentary along with Cole and Graves, and we start out with a Shinsuke Jeff Hardy match, which is a good match. Jeff does wind up accidentally using the knee with the brace to stun Shinsuke to get the Whisper in the Wind and get the Swanton. And so he gets the win here, and he walks to the ring. AJ is yelling at him. He walks to the
announce table.
Actually, he's going up the rail.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And he's underneath the Titantron, and AJ is distracting him, to which we get our first of many surprises. Sami Zayn's music hits, and the Great Liberator has returned.
And he is as annoying as ever. I love him.
Ska Incarnate kicks Jeff in the mouth. It's wonderful.
The dancing.
Mm-hmm. We now have the champion who was never uncrowned.
Yeah.
Which is another theme we get today. And we have a conundrum. We have AJ, we have Jeff, and we have Sami already, and that's great. Put them all in the ring together. I don't care. Or give me matches with each one of them against each other.
Yeah.
Let's go. This is going to be great. Then we get after that, we come back from commercial, and Sammy drops the French in a backstage interview. He is the Intercontinental Champion, really. He reps the world.
Yes.
Lets us know he's smarter than all of us.
Dang.
Appreciated it. Now, earlier, when Vince was telling Adam Pearce to go get these autographs, he did suggest he could find Bray in the Funhouse if he could locate it.
And gave him some clothes to wear.
Yes. Bray is in the Funhouse, and he does what Bray does. This is pretty good until he does make a teeth comment I thought was good.
Yeah. And neither one of those toothy monsters or, horrible fanged monsters will get this belt for me.
Right. Well done.
I died a little. I was clapping.
Right. The Postman Pierce appears as he knocks on the door, and we get a Pee-wee's Playhouse moment.
Callback.
Right. And Postman Pierce mentions to Bray that he needs to get the Fiend to sign the contract, but maybe Bray could do that for him, to which Bray inquires, why would I be able to sign for him? And he says, it seems like maybe you guys are linked in some way, to which Bray gives him an evil stare and then snaps out of it real quickly and says, it's cool, I'll do it for you.
Yeah.
And so we're good, and Bray continues to let us know that he's not 100% sure if he and the Fiend are linked or not, which is great. Then we get the Broman promo, Corbin something or another. He challenges Corbin to come out and get him. Corbin comes out to accept the challenge on behalf of Shorty G. And we get a quick little Shorty G match, which you pointed out wasn't a bad match.
Yeah.
It just wasn't long.
No, and I'm sorry. I think they underutilized a guy who's an Olympic wrestler.
Correct. I get it.
And you got him and Matt Riddle out there, and what they showed us in those 3 or 4 minutes they had, 4 or 5 minutes.
Makes you hope they go back to it when they're done with this Corbin thing.
Build that guy.
You know what this is, though? People are going to think I'm crazy. This is a match you want on the pre-show.
Yeah.
Because a pre-show with Riddle and Shorty G, they'd let those guys go 15 minutes. They could tear it up and then move on. It doesn't have to be a program. Just stick them out there and let them do it. But we're going to probably get Corbin and Riddle.
Which could be great if they would give it.
Right. Now, Riddle winds up beating him with the Broderick, and Corbin attacks until the point in which Riddle evens things up, and then discretion becomes the better part of valor, and he gets out of there. Okay. I like this so far. We're doing good so far.
I did like it, dude. Corbin, man, does he get on my nerves with the King gimmick? Yes, but dude, he really is.
He's good.
He is good.
He is good, yeah. Talking Smack TV segment last Saturday was aired, and The Miz and Big E get into it. A lot of it starts with Big E defending or talking about how Kofi had waited so long, get squashed, and then pushed right back down.
Mm-hmm.
And how unfair that was. And The Miz said, hey, I went through the same thing, but I never gave up, and I pushed myself back up, and you have to be like me.
Mm-hmm.
And Big E is like, dude, you got to be kidding me, right?
Yeah.
And so that goes back and forth, which carries over into this week. And I thought the Miz TV segment, SmackDown, Talking Smack, not a Miz TV segment, Talking Smack segment that I'm referring to right now was somewhat of a callback to the Daniel Bryan thing. I think that's what they were going for. They didn't quite get there because there's limits to what the Miz could say in that scenario.
Yes.
And also the person he's talking to is not a retired guy from a head injury that can't fight right now.
Yeah.
So it didn't have the evilness that it did before. Mm. But it did serve a purpose here, and it sets up Miz and Morrison running into Big E backstage, Sheamus rolling up on it, Tuck and Odie there, and we're going to have some form of a match between these guys as a main event, and I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm.
We get a quick wiener sausage meat segment backstage, which you referred to earlier is the go-to for WWE being funny.
There is a guy back there who thinks meat is hilarious.
Right. Bayley says some folks can only handle being tag team champs, and Big E shouldn't let it get it down.
Uh-huh.
To which Big E points at Sasha and says, that's actually you.
It's literally you.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Ray?
Because, wait, that guy is totally Vince McMahon.
Yes, that guy is.
There's no way that is not Vince McMahon.
No, Vince McMahon's writing in meat spots.
Yes.
This spot doesn't have enough cooked meat in it.
We're going to show a lunchbox that we sell on our website for children, but we're going to pack it with sausage.
Yeah.
And we're going to have Big E say, "Don't wave that at me."
Yes.
And that is a kiddie part of the show.
Yes, it is.
And a
Funny.
13-year-old part of the show.
Yes.
And just Vince.
Yeah.
Just all over that.
Remember when DX did this? It was kind of funny. Let's do it again.
Yes.
I think he's been loving it since DX did the meat jokes back when they were doing DX.
Absolutely.
And he's just been writing that crap in since then.
Right. It's a nod to Triple H wherever he is.
Yes.
Okay.
And a completely different
Roman
company.
won't answer the door, and then Corbin gets caught in the hallway with Kayla, and he rants and does a really good job, like you said earlier, about ranting and letting us know that he wants a piece of Riddle. It's boss time, guys. Can I get that on a loop from Michael Cole? Just a 20-minute loop of it's boss time. It's boss time. It's boss time. I love it. Bayley's doing a bad job of being a good friend here when she's trying to tell Sasha why they need to win. Nia Jax and Shayna come over and save
she says
said
things
segment.
like, I should have known better than to let you challenge that for that belt because you weren't really capable of carrying.
Absolutely.
As a friend, I should have helped you out.
Saved you from yourself because you can't defend titles on your own.
No.
Nia and Shayna come in and kill it there on the Titantron, and they basically say the only reason why they're teaming up is because they hate Bayley and Sasha. But the way they do it is so good. The way Nia can cut her eyes, she's very expressive, and Shayna is finally getting to show you she's more than just a cyborg.
Yes.
And that when she says she sucks.
Yeah.
Talking about her tag partner.
Yeah.
She actually sucks. It was so good. And then we wind up with Sasha taking the mic and saying, we're going to win. But then at the end, she does two things that you noticed. One, when she says, "I'll get my revenge," she cuts her eyes to Bayley.
Yeah.
She'll get her vengeance. She cuts her eyes to Bayley, not to them. And then she calls the titles, tag team titles, my titles. Right. So that's an interesting aspect of this as well, because we keep teasing the Bayley Sasha match that's coming.
Yeah.
To the point where they have now one of the great women's matches of all time was the NXT TakeOver match between these two, and that is a special on the network right now. So we're even showing that commercial between. They're utilizing the network to also tell the story, which is great. Great.
I'm fine with that.
Oh yeah. Now, Gulak hits Braun from behind because...
well, Pierce was looking for Braun.
And Gulak wanted to get even with Braun for jumping him the week before, and so he hits Braun with a chair, to which Braun doesn't even react. Gulak throws the chair to Pierce and runs away. Pierce lets Braun know that, hey, easy now. That wasn't what was going on here. And
I love that Braun did, usually in that spot, the monster just destroys the first person in front of him.
But he understood.
Yeah, he understood.
He knew that Adam Pierce wasn't fit to do that.
No.
And so he says, if you want to fight, if you better find Roman before I do, and if you want me to sign that, you got to get Gulak in the ring, and he does that. He said, no problem. Cesaro and Shinsuke are talking backstage about their plans, and they make up with the fact that Shinsuke just ran off to go wrestle for a title without checking with him. Sammy interrupts, and he thinks the band's getting back together, but he had neglected to call Shinsuke and Cesaro while he was away for 4 months.
Yes.
So the band does not seem to be getting back together. And again, we're getting the opportunity to see Cesaro and Shinsuke become more interesting characters.
Yes.
Cesaro is kind of the mouthpiece of this tag team now, and they're letting you know that Sammy's not going to be that anymore.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Right. We need what we're getting. Gulak versus Braun, squash match. Braun's big mad, and he goes right through him.
That was probably one of his better, he didn't run around the ring.
No, that's gone.
I'm fine with that.
That I'm a choo-choo train Nice guy Braun is gone.
Yeah,
He's not doing that anymore.
I'm fine with that.
Absolutely. Which, you know what? If not for the pandemic, with that live audience, they never would have gone away from that.
Yeah.
It's funny how things work out. Lucha House Party. Kalisto tells Lindsay El Dorado, stay back here in the back and see how it is done. He goes to the ring because he will be wrestling Cesaro, but pre that, Cesaro and Shinsuke drop Grand Metalik and Lindsay El Dorado from behind. They beat him up real quick, walk out to the ring, which will come into play as Kalisto is in a fantastic little match with Cesaro.
Man.
He does 3 or 4 spots that only he can do, 2 of which only he can do with Cesaro.
Yeah.
He does one where he's thrown up in the air and stands on Cesaro's shoulders.
Drops back down into this, like,
A DDT.
pendulum DDT.
Right. Unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal. He does a thing where he leaps over the top rope in order to land on the second rope and then turn that into a Hurricane Rod on Cesaro. It's just fantastic stuff.
The one where Cesaro went to fling him over his head, like with, I can't remember if it was a German or if it was just flinging him backwards over his head, and Dorado like somehow spins so tight in the air it ends up going for the roll through.
Right. Correct. Just so many. 2 weeks in a row with Cesaro wrestling these luchadors, we're getting these fantastic spots that you can't get with people that aren't superhuman like Cesaro is. And so then Kalisto, Lindsay El Dorado and Grand Metalik tried to avenge getting jumped from behind. They jumped Shinsuke outside the ring.
It was also Shinsuke was attacking.
Right.
Kalisto.
He was trying to help.
Yeah.
He was trying to help. And so they were trying to help. And they jump Shinsuke, but that causes a distraction, which causes Kalisto to get rolled up, which causes more arguing in this faction.
Friction.
And I kind of want to see a Lindsay El Dorado match.
Against Kalisto?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Grand Metalik.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Either way. Tamina and Nikki are backstage, and they are worried about Alexa, who comes up, and as you said, she is turning into Harley Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
Her hair is starting to get natted up.
Well, she went to the ponytails first thing they noticed.
The Harley Quinn, which was her original character.
Yeah.
And then they noticed that her hair is starting to
She's doing a dreadlock.
In certain spots.
Yeah.
And she said, well, I was thinking about going half and half, but, blah, blah, blah. And then Nikki points out that reminds her of The Fiend, to which we get a stare into space.
Uh-huh.
Which also turns into...
Why aren't you being supportive of me? Friends are supposed to be supportive. I guess we're not best friends anymore. And she breaks the
first
You knew that mug
coffee cup.
was done as soon as it showed up on camera.
Right. Absolutely.
Dude, and they started talking about, this is the first gift Alexa gave me.
Yeah, you knew that was done.
Yeah, that was very obvious. that was not so.
It was not making it.
Right. Now,
Poor cup.
you could start playing it before.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we get Morrison is explaining to... They're
explaining to Miz how he can duct tape a baseball to the bottom of his foot and then kick it through a speedometer like they used to do
with baseballs.
Yeah, and he can get 70
miles an hour. He can kick something 70 miles an hour. To which
I don't know if that's true or not, but it sounds funny as great.
Right, and to which Sheamus wants to know what they're talking about, and they said
must be talking about the plan for the match.
Of course they were. Yeah. And then Morrison does come up with a plan to win, in which if we don't allow any of them to wrestle, we will win via count out, actually, which is a great plan.
I like this plan.
But Sheamus gets frustrated and storms off. Okay. Now, Pierce finds Roman, but Roman ain't signing nothing, because if you watched AEW, you know that Moxley put an extra page in that contract on AEW. Yes. So Roman initiates something that no one has ever seen.
He reads the contract.
He says, I'm going to read this before I sign it.
Yeah.
And this is how we know that all of this is a work. Mm-hmm. Who's right, Ray? Vince Russo's right.
It's all the work.
Vince Russo's right. It's all the work.
Vince Russo's never wrong.
Mm-hmm.
No.
I remember I heard Vince Russo say, because you were listening to his podcast show once in the thing, and on the car on the drive, and he said he is so fed up with these shows that he has started karaoke sessions in between the shows so he can get through them.
That's the most terrifying thing I ever heard.
Yeah, I don't know that he's a good singer. Okay, so
I
then we
don't think
wind
so.
then we wind up with the match: Sheamus, Miz, Morrison, Odie, Tuck, Big E. Tuck gets the wrestling portion of
Yes.
the episode. Big E gets the finish.
Uh-huh.
Morrison and Miz kind of ignore
Sheamus.
on the apron,
And even though he saved the match at a point by...
ringing the bell.
Uh-huh.
When Morrison was about to get pinned, he went and rang the bell rather than let Morrison get pinned, which
Distracted the ref.
was a de facto timeout.
Yeah.
And then we wind up with, which I thought was clever,
Uh-huh.
and then we wind up with Sheamus tagging himself in, but the ref didn't see it, so he wasn't allowed in, and then Morrison accidentally gets bumped into Sheamus,
Accidentally.
to which Sheamus gets frustrated and leaves altogether.
Mm-hmm.
The Miz tries to chase him, and then when Sheamus turns in anger towards the Miz, he runs away.
Mm-hmm.
We are teasing that a retribution thing may be coming, that either the Miz or Morrison won, maybe either the Miz or Sheamus won, may be the leader. We don't actually wind up getting the retribution interference. We wind up getting a helter-skelter finish, which these things tend to be, where it winds up, you get the Odie Caterpillar, you get the
Big E, big ending.
Big E, big ending for the win, and you think your episode is over, but the most important thing that happened in this episode was not wrestling. It was a backstage segment, the last 2 minutes of the show, in which Roman Reigns, the John Cena of his generation, is looking at Adam Pearce and saying, if you'll make these adjustments to this contract, I can promise you. And he begins to say, I'll guarantee you that I will be there. I will win back the title I never lost. And I'll wreck and leave, and I'll win back the title I never lost. That is not a...
Promise. That's a spoiler.
Right, which is the
pan back then, and you see who's sitting right beside him.
evil.
Paul Heyman.
Perfect.
Bum, bum, bum.
And
See,
so
Roman
they-
Reigns gonna use him as a
Human law.
Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman is actually using Roman Reigns as a bodyguard for all the people who he owes money.
It's entirely possible.
And making sure the Good Brothers can't have access to him.
Yes.
Now, there have been rumors from people that kind of sort of know Roman that say he has wanted to go heel for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
This time of way may have actually given him the leverage to force their hand on that.
Mm-hmm.
I am excited.
I think it could be so good.
Yeah.
I really hope this is good.
Heyman had teased this by accident all along in those Brock Lesnar feuds
Uh-huh.
because he constantly put Roman over as formidable as
Uh-huh.
wrestling royalty, how much respect he has for the Samoan legacy in pro wrestling, all of which is probably true.
You know how you definitely knew he was healed when he came back?
Teeth.
Teeth.
He had new teeth.
The teeth are terrible.
They're,
Awesome.
they're white.
They are
Do you think
strangely.
somewhere there's a piano missing his keys?
But also, dude, Roman signing up with the guy who was in cahoots with Brock, who made his life a living hell,
Yeah.
is great storytelling.
Yeah.
And I'm excited.
I think it could be great.
Good finish for the week, right?
Good finish for the week of bad things at times, but
Now, if you want to hear about NXT, we have an NXT separate podcast. We're going to do
They're
now.
not the same company.
nope.
No. And we're going to put that out soon. So listen to that there. This is a Go Home Heat production, copyright 2020 for Justin, Ray, and KP. Go home.